Hi, everybody. I hope you are having a beautiful week so far. It's good to be back here live with you, whether you're watching with me now or later in the replay. It's been a while since we have spoken about one of the main pillars of our path to success, which is recovery and specifically sleep and energy. So today's live coaching event is dedicated to just that. And this is a huge topic, right? But we're going to break it down to basics, and I'm going to give you 3 big ideas to think about today in a way that is going to help you to optimize your sleep, to sleep deeper with less interruptions, really restful sleep when you wake up. And in turn, more restful and deeper sleep is going to help you to wake up feeling more energized each day for sustainable energy levels, right? Instead of the dips, so that you can perform for your workouts to the highest level, to be able to eat mindfully with less cravings or disruptions in the mind, and just have a really sense of peace in your mind to be able to sharpen your focus and show up the best of your ability. So we're going to get right into it. The 3 big ideas that I have for you is consistency, screen time, and physical grounding. So we're going to go into each of these, starting with consistency. So like anything, as I'm sure you guys have picked up on by now, is that when it comes to your wellness, when it comes to really anything that you're trying to accomplish, a sense of consistency is absolutely key, right? We have to be able to find kind of that balance between regimentation and a flow, right? And a flexibility in our own lives. It's going to look different for everybody, where we can repeat healthy habits over time. And that's what's going to help to make them both easier and more effective for our goals. So if we're trying to get more rest, more restful sleep, more quality sleep every day and feel more energized, then what that's going to look like is we need to be consistent with the way that we are planning out our days. Specifically, you want to think about when you're eating, when you're going to bed, and when you are working or mentally active or stimulated doing things, right? So if we start with meals, this is important, especially when it comes to bedtime. I want you to focus specifically on what time are you eating dinner. Are you someone where it changes sporadically from one time to another time throughout the week? Or do you strive to kind of have the same more or less time window where you're going to finish dinner? I would highly recommend, if you are someone that's eating at a lot of different times of the day, to at least begin to start a practice of trying to schedule out your meals a little bit more. The reason for this is that if we tend to eat dinner really early one night and eat dinner super late another night, that's really going to affect your digestive system. And that will definitely affect the quality of your sleep. So if you eat a really late dinner, for example, and then you go to sleep soon after, your body is still going to be working on digesting all of that food. And it's going to interrupt that process of starting to wind down, get into the sleep zone, which is a whole nother process and system that takes a lot of energy from the body in a good way. But if we're eating and we're kind of adding food into the equation when your body is not quite expecting that, your body's trying to get ready for sleep, which, think of sleep as like a workout, right? It's not going to happen as smoothly. You might notice it takes you longer to fall asleep. You might notice that you have more interruptions, or you just might recognize that the next morning you're just not feeling as rested as you would like. So by picking a consistent meal time, I gave away the next one, consistent meal time, or finishing your last meal by a certain time, that's really going to help you. The next piece of advice I have for consistency is what comes after the meal, typically, is your bedtime. Again, are you someone that you fall asleep randomly, there's no real structure, or do you aim for a certain time that you try to get to bed? It will really benefit you to have a bedtime, because that's the hardest part, right? Is we try to get all these things done during the day, and sometimes the bedtime is just kind of like default whenever things are done. And I encourage you, if that's you, to think backwards. Start with your bedtime and work backwards. Subtract the time it's going to take for you to get ready for bed, the time it's going to take for you to finish dinner, for you to make dinner, for you to finish work, right? Going back. And then the more you do that and the more conscious you are, not only are you going to get yourself to finish the day with more productivity, but you'll also be able to consistently get to bed on time, which is so helpful to the quality of your sleep. You're naturally going to wake up early. And from a lot of our conversations, I know many of you are trying to naturally wake up earlier and feel kind of that more pep in your step first thing in the morning so you can get the day started earlier, accomplish more, have more time for yourself at the end of the day. And that begins with a bedtime. So it's kind of like we had to do when we were younger. We need to set our own bedtimes and we need to stick to it. So this might be helpful for you. I know it's been helpful for me to set alarms, like whether it's Alexa or on your phone, around that time where you need to start getting ready for bed. So that way you're priming yourself to take the time you need to actually get to bed in your bed on time and create that rhythm. Your body loves rhythm, especially with light and darkness. That is our natural circadian rhythm. So our body really does know when it needs to fall asleep, when it needs to wake up, but it can get really thrown off if we don't allow it to fall into its natural cycle. And we'll talk about how to kind of find even more balance with that circadian rhythm in a second. The last piece for the consistency is work boundaries, right? So again, another question, are you somebody where you have like a hard stop to your day? It's done with work after this time, and then it's into relax mode or personal time? Or are you someone that, you are kind of working whenever until the job is done, doesn't matter what time, you'll pull an all-nighter? And I understand both sides. I would encourage you very much to, with kindness, but fierceness, enforce some time boundaries around your work. This includes not just at night, that's kind of our focus for today, but definitely this applies to earlier in the day too, when you start your day. And maybe that's going to be a separate training. I want to focus in on the evening, nighttime zone here for sleep. But absolutely, that's going to have an effect on your sleep. Think of how much more wired and stimulated your mind is, your thoughts are, if you're going to be working up to the very last minute and then try to go jump into bed. It's not going to work. And especially if your work is stressful or you're excited about it, right? It doesn't even have to be a negative thing. It could be very positive and fires you up. But even still, that is going to intersect with our wind down time, which is so crucial for good quality sleep and vibrant energy, that we really want to try to create as much of a buffer between working and going to bed. Okay, so that's consistency with time. So try to pick some times that make sense for you for dinner time. Maybe if it's not 7 days a week, maybe during at least the work week, a bedtime, again, for majority days of the week, and then work boundary times. What time are you going to finish up and hold that promise to yourself? That's the first piece. So we are kind of aligning our schedule. Now, the second big idea that I have for you is thinking about screen time. And I know how hard this is, especially from my own experience. I have significantly shifted a lot of my business to the virtual world, and I spend a lot of time on my laptop and on my phone. And it's a great thing, but it can also hurt us in many ways. So we just have to be really mindful and intentional about it. And think about how much artificial versus real natural light that you get. And what we want to try to do is just try to get a little bit more natural light, because I think all of us get plenty of artificial light. What I mean by that is anything that comes from a screen, blue light from our phone, laptop, iPad, Kindle, TV, lights in your house. That's all artificial light. And when we're constantly getting a ton of that all day long, or maybe we don't even step outside to get actual sunlight on our eyes, on our skin, because our skin absorbs that, which allows our ability to absorb that natural light, helps our melatonin, which is the hormone responsible for allowing us to feel that tired feeling to go to bed, right? If we're not getting enough of that, it's going to be so hard to wind down and to feel tired when it's time for bed at the end of the night. So we can kind of hack this by just being super mindful of our screen time, especially at the end of the day, right? So during the day, makes sense. You're going to be working, maybe you're going to be on your phone more, okay? Towards the end of the night, though, think about the types of activities that you're doing or the habits that you have. If they are heavily associated with a ton of artificial light, can we set some parameters around that to lessen it, right? Or again, just getting more fierce about our boundaries with it. So I would encourage you to try to set a shutdown time of technology, and creating as long of a boundary or as long of a buffer between bedtime and when you shut down as possible. Maybe that's only 10 minutes, maybe it's 30, maybe it'll grow to an hour. But the bigger the buffer between bedtime and using technology, the better the sleep. So our circadian rhythm, again, what I was mentioning before, that rhythm really thrives off of our body's exposure to light. When we get blue light, it tells our body to stimulate and to wake up and to go. You know, it's like that like go factor. When we get yellow light, which is natural light, right? Like from this, when you watch a sunset or the sunrise, it's very mellowing for the body, and it reminds our body to get back on our natural rhythm and to relax. And it's just more in tune with nature. So it knows when it's time to ramp up and to wake up versus going to sleep. Other little tips you can think of when it comes to screen time, if this is a struggle for you, is even replacing some bulbs in your house and creating, you know, trying to switch out from blue light to more yellow lights, warmer lights especially. And that way at night, if you can use more of your yellow lights, this will help to remind the body at least of the sun, right? And so it will help you to kind of ease into it. If you obviously, we can't be in the dark all night. You can also use dimming settings on your house lights, which are great. Not only is that going to kind of create a nice calming mood, but it will again ease your body into that sensation of like, it's not light out, it's getting darker, darker, darker. Therefore, we are ready for sleep. Think about, the cavemen, right? The old let's look back in the history analogy, and they didn't have lights back then. So when it was dark out, they went to sleep. And then when the sun came up, it was time to wake up. So we have to, as hard as it is to go back to such primitive times, we do have to create some type of limit around the screen time, because that can really, really hurt us when it comes to sleep. A few other things I'll mention here, because I know how prominent it is number one, I would highly recommend minimizing, or if you can, totally eliminate TVs in the bedroom. Doing anything in your phone or laptop or working in bed, right? Think of your bedroom as your sanctuary. Think of your bedroom as only, sleep and, personal activities happen in there, right? And anything else that we invite, even if it's, casual scrolling, we're not really working or we don't think we're thinking too much. It is training our body to associate bed with something other than sleep. And we really can't have that, right? The more that our body creates neural connections between, bedtime and relaxing and Instagram scrolling, bedtime, with checking emails, writing an email, being on the phone, watching a Netflix for hours, right? So if you can start to at least just separate it, right? Create that sanctuary in your bedroom without screens, low light, especially around bedtime, it's really going to help you out. Let me know if that makes sense and if you have any questions about that. The last piece I want to talk about is physical grounding. So what does this mean? It can mean a lot of different things. When it comes to sleep, again, we want to have, it's a balance. We want to have a balance of being physically active during the day, but also having enough time to come back and being centered and having a sense of stillness and quiet. And I think it's really that balance, a delicate balance that is different for everybody, that allows us to stay grounded. Because I think we can all agree that exercise, it gets you in your body. It's embodiment. You are like connected. You're thinking about your body. You're thinking about how it feels, different sensations that you are noticing. And it helps you to be present, right? Just that, you can't really do a hard workout and be completely absent-minded. You really have to be quite focused to do a good job. And at the same token, think about if you are trying to have a restful moment and you're doing a meditation maybe, or you're doing prayers, or you're maybe sitting down to read a book, you also have to slow down, but in a different way, right? We're not jumping into a workout, but we're like going inward to create a channel of clarity and calm and stillness in our mind. So I encourage you to think about, where are you on that spectrum of those two being balanced? Are you, finding the time each day to move your body to reconnect, despite maybe the busyness or a busy day of work? And are you also taking the time to, be still in the mind, in the body, to check in with yourself and to see where you're at? I believe that if you're able to find a balance and you're aware of this throughout the day or most days, that is really going to help you to begin to find more control on slowing down your mind, slowing down your thoughts so that you can go into a deeper night of rest. Because at the end of the day, that is a huge one too, is just an overwhelming sense of thoughts, of fixing, of to-dos, of anxiety that tends to like to creep its way in right around when we want to try to relax and go to sleep. And so if that is you, I would also encourage you to think about, how can you get more grounded? Is it adding in more exercise or a light walk in your day just to check back in with your body and that focus, right? To release from anything else that might be pulling your attention from that one moment. Or maybe it's a little bit more of like physical mental stillness and adding some meditation minutes. Literally could be 2 minutes or less than that, where you just check in with yourself and give yourself that moment to release, let go, because then your mind, as you start to do that over and over again and create that habit, when it's time to go to bed, your mind is going to remember that habit of letting go and relaxing, and it will do wonders for you when it comes time to sleep. So that's it, guys. That's what I have for you today. I really hope that that serves you well. Again, our tips for deeper restful sleep and higher sustainable energy is going to be doubling down on your time consistency, decreasing screen time, and really getting in touch with grounding yourself physically and mentally. One way that you can kind of remember all of these in a fun way is a little, I don't know what it's called, but it's a little trick that I think of. It's called 3-2-1. So it wraps up most of these in a really easy way. So 3 stands for you want to try to eat 3 hours before bed. Boom. 2 is you want to try to stop working 2 hours before bed. And then 1, you want to try to cut off screen time 1 hour before bed. So notice that in order to do all of these, you got to have your bedtime down. You got to have that locked in. And then we're already planning out our meals, that 3-hour mark. We are noticing when we're going to shut down from work at the 2-hour mark. And then number 1, we are going to shut off from screens, maybe do a little grounding, a little stretch, a little meditation about an hour before bed. So that way you can ease into it and be ready for it and have a wonderful rest of your evening and set you up for success the next day. So that is it, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are on today. Let me know which of these you already practice or ones that you're working on, and let's all share together. And we will be in touch for our next training next week. And be on the lookout for your newsletter recap coming to you this week. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day and take care. Bye.